recording. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Please stay with me, especially those who could not sleep this morning. Okay, uh, let's go. So verse 14. Okay, I think we are done with this already, but let's just translate one more time. So Vaikra Abraham. So what does it mean? And Abraham Kara. So what is it? Called. And this verse 14 is quite important passage, and you already know this passage very well. So Abraham called what? Shem, name, Hamakom, the place. So should be modified by the definiteness. So the name of the place. And what is that? Hahu. So it is also modifying the preceding noun ha makom. So je, jot, hu, he. Do you remember? Je, jot, hu, he, alele, men. So it's independent pronoun meaning that, this, that, right? These, those. So this one is that place. So how? How was it called? Adonai Irueh. Okay. So someone may say Jehovah Jireh, or some interpretation say the Lord will provide. Okay. Asher, that,
That.
and then Yeamer. This one is, I told you that this tere under the prefix pronoun yod is quite special. And what is this for? This is for the first aleph verb, nifal stem. So it will be said. Hayom, it refers to the day, meaning today. So it will be said today, behar, in a mountain. Adonai. So it depends on your interpretation. Could it be in the mountain of the Lord or in a mountain? And another Nephi stem, la, a, together with the prefix pronoun yod and zere. So should be it or she or he will be la sin. Okay. Or if you like the word of provision, then you can say it will be provided. Okay, so this is quite simple translation based on our formal knowledge in terms of grammar, right? Because whenever we translate prefix form or affix form, there was a tendency that okay, prefix form is past tense, no, future tense as in incomplete action, and then suffix form, affix form is complete action in the past. But now, when you begin to study syntax, then you will understand that oh, that's very simplified understanding, right? So now, then, what are you going to do? Especially if you look at verse 14, the syntactical issues, then I want to draw your attention to, first of all, Jashinius. Jashinius is dealing with verse 14 in relation to the use of the imperfect. I told you, the imperfect means what? Prefix form.
Mhm.
Okay, there are various ways of addressing the terminology of prefix form. Sometimes it may be called imperfect, or sometimes it may called what is it? Prefix form. uh, yeah, prefix form, and sometimes it'll say wait tall, wait tall, or katol, QTL means a fixed form, or WAYQTL means imperfect. So it just what is it, carries this consonant sound. Okay, so you need to be aware of all those different names for prefix form and affix form. But anyway, so talking about imperfect, let's go back to the passage again. So we need to understand where we can find the perfect, imperfect form. Is it imperfect? Okay, so which means prefix form. So where do we have prefix form? The first one is prefix, okay? And then let's go. And then this one is prefix, right? And then this one is a prefix, and this one is prefix. And everything is a prefix here. But the first verb is simply a prefix form because it is attached to verb conjugative. They will say verb conjugative, which is verb conversive. So in this case, the translation of prefix form, imperfect, is not applicable to the word. But anyway, I just simply cut and paste uh, what I could have found from Jason News. It says the imperfect as opposed to the perfect represents actions, events, or states which are regarded by the speaker at any moment as still continuing or in process of accomplishment or even as just taking place. So if you click on the reference for Jesse News in the verse 14, then you will not be able to see this part because I just intentionally move up to the what is the first part of the explanation. Sometimes, if you click on, what is it in your Bible works, if you click on the reference, then you will lead you the specific portion where you see Genesis passage as a reference. Am I right? And then you need to slightly move to see the beginning of the explanation, which is a part of this whole picture. So as I just start with the word, the title, use of the imperfect. So if you go to the top of the portion, then you will see that okay, it provides a general understanding of the use of the imperfect. And if you just click on it, you will be able to see just this portion. I just highlight, several things in different colors here, and it will lead you to the part, especially, can you see that this part? If you click on Jesse News reference, and it will lead you somewhere here. Did you notice that? And then you need to go a bit higher, 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 and it's to see the beginning, and it's the beginning of the paragraph. And then it will provide the information like, okay, this portion is about the use of imperfect, which we normally call prefix form. Prefix form, in relation to Genesis chapter 22, verse 14, is used to express action, which may be repeated at any time. Okay, prefix form can be used to express an action that may be repeated at any time, including therefore the present. So now, prefix form, how are we going to interpret it? You don't need to put it as the future tense all the time. Very simplified. You can put it as the present tense too. Okay. So in the case, okay, Jehovah Jireh. Okay, Adonai ireh. Then the translation was what? The Lord will provide. But you can interpret it, the prefix form, as a present and present tense, then the translation is not going to be what? He will provide. Instead, you will say he provides. Do you see the possibility here? One more time, prefix form can be interpreted with the nuance of the present tense. So it doesn't need to be always will. Sometimes you can use the present tense with the understanding that, okay, it may be repeated at any time or are customarily repeated on a given occasion. So those passages are used as a reference. See, Deuteronomy 144, Genesis 6:21, blah, 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 blah. So now you understand, okay, these are used as a reference. And then, so again, especially to express facts known by experience, which may at any time come into effect again. And the specific example is Exodus 23:8, Genesis 24, Genesis 22:14, which is the current passage that we are dealing with. Now, can you see what I'm trying to say? Okay, so then let's go back. So what is your translation here? 이르에. Even I think there is another part talking about this ye amer, and then you can just talk about it later. But anyway, you will see the expression of ya amer, and then you need to understand that, okay, sometimes even prefix form can be used to express the simple fact. Okay, so this is not the point of what we are dealing with. But anyway, 이르에 means what? A fact known by experience, which may at any time come into effect again. So now, explanation. It does not clearly point out the Hebrew word, but it is most likely referring to Jehovah Jireh, meaning God provides, not God will provide. So if you really understand another possibility of the translation, then you can see that, okay, this one can be even meaning the simple fact that can be understood as an action that may be occurring again, and then it just was realized through an experience. Do you understand? So what is the significance of this syntax here, the explanation? How does it affect you when you try to interpret it? Now Moses is just trying to say that, all right, Abraham, it's Abraham's, story and narrative. So Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, which means God provides. So it doesn't simply mean God will provide, but he is sharing his idea that it's a fact. Okay, God provides instead of God will provide. So what is the significance between these two? In terms of the difference between the two, God will provide and or and God provides. Uh, Abraham experienced this Jehovah Jireh. So through his experience, he realized that, okay, it's not simple provision that just happened last time, and he began to see that God is the one who provides. Okay, or he's the one who sees. So this one, then I experience it, and then it becomes a kind of a simple fact to him that it may occur again at any time. Do you understand the point? So the exegetical significance is the imperfect conjugation was intentionally used to imply the idea that the provision of God is to be repeated at any time again. So if you understand this syntax, then you can see that, okay, the word Adonai Irie doesn't simply mean, you know, the expression of okay, God will provide. Instead, you need to say, okay, in a deeper meaning, oh, it is a experience or realizing great realization that affects the understanding of Abraham about who God is. So going back to the point again, sometimes one more time prefix can be used in the present tense to express facts known by experience, which may at any time come into effect again. Do you see the difference? Okay. You may say, okay, I cannot see the really big difference though. But what you really need to understand here is that you need to come out of this simplified grammatical aspect, saying prefix form is future, affix form is the past, verb conversive is past, verb reversive is the future. Now you need to understand how you can apply this syntactical issue. Then my question is, whenever you have prefix form with verb conversive, then do you need to interpret it as the present tense all the time? No, because prefix form can be used differently, okay, in various ways. That's why you need to deal with each passage differently, okay, dealing with its syntax. Okay, so talking about this, I want to just ask you this question. After dealing with this syntax, talking about the use of imperfect, what can you see? I think some of you already finished your assignment for the whole chapter, like Amos and Phineas, and some of you did it. So according to your interpretation of this, what could you see? And then how does it affect your understanding, especially in terms of the use of imperfect form? Okay, I want to just ask you this question. You can share with us. Amos, you want to say something here? Great
Um,
Hebrew scholar.
no, no, no. Well, thank you for a compliment, but I think like the imperfect form, just as it's sometimes like similar to what in English is called simple present tense. For example, if you say the sun rises in the east, all right, the sun rises in the east, you're actually saying something not just happening now, but it's a kind of like truth that is happening all over the time, repeating like also like habitually like in the future, and this sort of like an imperfect tense is also sharing some of the same feature. It is, something that will be habitually repeating, like going on, in the future. Yeah, things like that.
Yes. Yeah, that's another explanation. You got a point. You're right. So, uh, another way, can you also say that what about then a fixed form? A fixed form can be also used in the present tense as well. But you need to think about why is that prefix form and why is that what is it? A fixed form used in the past present tense. And then the what is the theological significance is all different. Okay. But anyway, like the way we use the past present tense in English, it could simply refer to a fact or truth. So, although the interpretation of Jessenius about this Genesis 22 verse 14 is bit about the facts known by the experience and as a possibility that it may repeat again. Okay, you may say that okay, no, I think instead of seeing this Jehovah Jireh as the thing that they may happen again, I wanted just to go for the simple truth, as Amos said. All right, Abraham instead Abraham is trying to say that this fact of Jehovah Jireh becomes a truth to him. That's why he is using it as present tense. You can go for it because there is a possibility too. Okay, even talking about this present tense, there are slightly different points. Okay, so it deals with different kinds of theological implications. Right? What about you, Phineas? How did you understand this part?
Um, well, usually when we understand this part, we know is as Jehovah Jireh as the name of God, and so I just like when I read this interpretation and explanation, it's like I think there is a reason why also they name this part as a name, one of the names of God, and so just like carrying the, as you said, like the frequency, or it may happen, and also I think there is a reason why it is called as a name of God is because it'll happen again, like
Okay, yeah, right. So, how can I say, in terms of common sense, the place should be called uh, in the past tense, right? Because he just saw God's provision, then it should be the Lord provided. Am I right? The Lord provided. But interestingly, it is used with prefix form as an incomplete action. Then that's quite significant. Why? Why? Why is that Abraham called a place as an incomplete action? Then he said it's not just about his experience, but it affects his understanding of who his God is. Isn't that amazing? Okay. He was not simply describing what God did, but instead he's trying to say God is the one who provides, and it affects his understanding. Now, I hope that you can see the importance of studying this syntax. I'm quite excited about this, and it's really important. When it comes to syntactical issues, I don't know much either. And then I can daily say that even other Old Testament scholars don't memorize all those information provided by Walt O'Connell and Jason Hughes. It's comforting us, right? So whenever you prepare your sermon or you are writing a exegetical paper, then you need to study using these textbooks. Do you understand? Then you can, go deeper. You can go deeper. So that is quite important aspect here. What about others? Is there any other approach or any other insight that you can bring into this discussion? What about you, Stephen? I know that you also submitted your assignment. Have you ever realized anything here?
For me, in this passage, I see uh, in another other reference is called. It can be translated as um, the Lord is accustomed me to see in that place. That means it can be can happen again anytime, and like it's famous for the Lord will be see or provide. So I think like this story is famous in the community there that time. So you know,
Okay, we couldn't hear the last part, but anyway, I understand what you tried to say. That's a good point. So, by the way, what book are you talking about? Uh, Jehovah God
I
is our customer to provide. And what is it?
in uh, what is that in use of imperfect
Yeah, but is
past.
it Jashinius?
Yes, in yeah.
Okay, I didn't really see that part. But
Uh,
anyway,
it's the G part. The one you show for Earth is H, but my part is G.
G. So could you see the specific reference of Genesis chapter 22, verse 14 in G portion?
Yes. Yes.
Ah, okay, okay. I know what you are saying. All right, right, right. But actually, that is more specifically about this yeah Ahmed. So like it is to be said. Okay, it refers to proverbs. But anyway, it still applies the same idea. Okay, something that repeats. It's not simple experience that you had before. Okay, but it affects your understanding of the factuality. Okay, so now verse 14 is a center point actually in the story of Genesis chapter 22, and then it's quite interesting to see that oh, it's imperfect action to describe his experience about God's provision. Okay. All right, then let me go back to verse 1 and let's just start dealing with some other points then. Okay. Uh, by the way, we have about 10 o'clock. So 1 hour. That's enough. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this one is verse 1 and that's Jesse News. If you click on it, the reference, then you can see that the last part is Genesis 7:10, 15:12, 22, 1. So the verse 1 has something to do with the imperfect with verb conjugative. So now you just see another terminology called verb conjugative. This one refers to, especially when it comes together imperfect form, then refers to verb conversive in our own terminology. Okay, the verb and the prefix form, how do we call it? Verb conversive. But anyway, the explanation is like this. Chikara, can you read?
The introduction of independent narratives or of a new section of the narrative by means of an imperfect consecutive likewise aims at a connection, though again loose and external, with that which has been narrated previously. Such a connection is especially often established by names of Ya
Vayehi.
by a he, and it came to pass after which there then follows either most commonly an imperfect consecutive or verb with the perfect separated from it.
So what is it about? If you go to verse 1, then it has Vayehi. So this portion is specifically dealing with the use of Vayehi in terms of imperfect with verb conversive, verb conjugative. Okay, especially talking about Vayehi, it's very common expression, especially in narrative. And then the idea is Vayehi deals with the information that the introduction of independent narratives or of a new section of the narrative. So in fact, you can see that chapter 22 is a new section of narrative, or you can consider it's an introduction of independent narrative. Okay, but the important point is it aims at a connection, though again loose and external. It's not really tight connection, but the idea is like it's a new section, but it's not totally independent. Okay, but the story should be somehow related to the previous narrative. That's the idea. So how did you interpret it? And it came to pass. So what does it mean? And it came to pass. It sounds like, okay, another story is about to start. Okay, so you can see that this is a kind of new section, but it comes with the idea that, oh, something was previously going on. That's the idea. So exegetical significance, it informs the readers that Genesis chapter 22 story is a continuation of a previous narrative of Genesis chapter 21. So in order for you better understand what is really going on in Genesis chapter 22, then you have to understand what was previously going on in chapter 21. Okay, so it's very simple information, but it affects our understanding, right? Before we just understand, oh, and it just came to pass, then what does it mean? In Hebrew concept, and you said, oh, it's a new start, but it is continuing, the story. All right. So these things are what I'm expecting from your assignment. Let's say you need to put verse 1, okay? And you need to also indicate what book, like this. G means Jeshi News. And you can just write W and O for word Okono. And then you need to start with this title, the imperfect uh, with the verb conjugative. And then you have to uh, paraphrase this sentence, these sentences. I don't want you to just put an, cut and paste like me. I'm your teacher, then I'm privileged to do this, but you are not supposed to. Because the reason why I want you to paraphrase is because I want to see if you really understand. If you just put and copy, then I don't know whether really or not you understand it correctly. So I want to really see your own interpretation and explanation. Then I will understand. Oh, okay, Chikara could understand it clearly. Do you understand? So you don't need to start from A section. This one is F section, but sometimes you need to go to A section to see the big picture and then go down to the specific part. But you don't need to really start including everything from the beginning. Then that's going to be 100 page long at the end. Okay, so just focus on the specific portion, but intentionally you can expand a little bit. Okay, if you clearly understand what it means by the explanation in the specific paragraph, that's great. And you can just you don't need to even look at the other part. But if you cannot really understand what it means by all those explanation, sometimes you need to go higher, go up to the front part. Do you have any question here? Do you understand? So if you already submitted your assignment, I cannot do much. But for the next assignment of syntax, then I want to even see this portion, exegetical significance. If you could see any exegetical significance from this syntactical explanation, you have to include it. Sometimes you may not be able to see, then say no point. There is no any exegetical significance, just indicated. Or if you could feel anything significant, then include it as exegetical significance. It could be very, how can I say, subjective. Okay, so I don't want to say it should be always, there should be always uniformity in terms of the answer. I want to really see different approach and different understanding. That's the purpose of doing this study. Okay, so you are always welcome to share your idea with us. All right. Okay, another thing. This is another portion in Genesis dealing with the specific reference of verse 1. It has title, the imperfect with verb conjugative. And then it provides a little bit different point here. Let me just go back. This is G section. and then it was F section before, and then it deals with the specific reference of Genesis chapter 22 verse 1, and then let's go back to the G section, and then it also deals with Genesis chapter 22 verse 1 under the same title. And probably there must be a different point here, but anyway, if we read it, this roots connection by means of what is it? YHYW. Y means yod, and then he haya. This is the way of putting prefix form. Another way of prefix form. Okay, it is especially common when the narrative or new section of it begins with any expression of time. Now, what is the point? It deals with an expression of time. So C above B blah blah. In addition to the above mentioned example, and Genesis chapter 22, 1. And then it said, and it came to pass after these things. So look at the portion again. Then it deals with achar, which means after. And then hadabari means these things. Okay, things, the things. So after the things, so it specifically refers to kind of a time matter here. So that's why it is used. Verb conjugative was used together with any expression of time. So the translation is, and it came to pass to these things. So it's a little further explanation, expansion of the usage of imperfect with the verb conjugative. Okay, so together with achar hadabarim, it just refers to, okay, these things. What do you mean? These things. These things refers to something happened previously. Okay, let's move on to Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. In verse 1, I think we don't have Walt O'Connor. Do we have Walt O'Connor? Do you remember? Amos or Stephen? Only Jesse News, right? Let me open if it works.
Professor, sorry, I just deal with, those ideas, like syntactical issues, topic by topic, instead of like author by author. So,
Okay,
sorry about that.
it's
So
okay.
if like
Yeah,
let's say if one topic is touched by, let's say, like all three like authors, I include all their like idea in my one paragraph. That's
that's
what I did.
okay. Yeah, as long as I can see it. But anyway, you submitted your assignment for the whole chapter. That's why I need to really give you extra marks for that. But for the future assignment, I'm expecting that you have to go by the textbook. The point is I want to see if my student really understand the explanation. Okay, so then you need to show me the proof that, okay, I just interact with this Jesse News and then Walt O'Connor. So I want to really see the specific indication of, okay, this part belongs to this Jesse News. Okay, so you need to at least to indicate that one. So the form that I'm expecting from you is going to be like first one, and then start with the name of the title of the book. Okay, Jesse News, and then the portion, just the way you explain. But at the end, for your paper or preaching, you can just put everything together, because it's not really for the presentation to me, but just for yourself. So you don't need to do it. But as an assignment, you need to really show me. Okay, let me. I'm sharing my screen with you. Just News chapter 22, verse, let's go to verse 1. And if you just to place your cursor around the Hebrew word, then you will see that on the right side, it changes. So when you move to the right side, then you have to press Shift key and hold it when you are moving your cursor so that it will not affect it. Okay. And you see, look at the pink colors. We have one, two, three, four. So Robert's grammar of the Greek New Testament, you can take a look at it later. But when it comes to our assignment, I want you to deal with the Jessenius and then Walt O'Connell. Actually, Muraka is also important one, but if we have to include it, that's going to be a lot of assignment. So just to focus on Jessenius and Walt O'Connell, I'm trying to tell you that Walt O'Connell has only one, which is noun patterns, but it doesn't deal with Genesis chapter 2, 22, verse 1 as a reference. Instead, it simply provides an general information about the usage of noun patterns. So in this case, you don't need to deal with this. Okay? So one more time, look at Jessenius, but you have one, two, three, four. But the first one has no reference. Then you don't need to do it. The second one has reference. Then you need to click on it. But I told you, scripture index is what you don't need to do. It's just scripture index. So scripture index is something that you need to disregard. And we have only two. One, two. So they are all related to the imperfect with the verb conjugative. So click on it and go to the specific portion, understand it, and include it. That's it. So you have only one, two from Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. Is that clear? So in this case, only Jessenius. If you go to verse 2, then what do we have? Let's look at it. Wow, a lot. Verse 2, look at Jessenius. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. But you don't need to deal with the first things because it has no reference, which means this book is just providing the general information about those things. If you are curious about it, then just go for it, but you don't need to do. So you have only one, two, three references. And then one more time, the last one is scripture index. You don't need to do it. You have only one, two. Do you understand?
I'm
Click on
sorry
it.
to interrupt you, Doctor.
Romero, what did you say?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Doctor. I just want to ask, in my Bible works, there is no reference appearing on the
So are you using
common
Bible Works 10 or 8?
10, Doctor.
Okay, Kanae can help you with that one. Okay, the format is different. Actually, Bible Works 8 says reference, but in Bible Works 10 it doesn't include reference. But you will see the specific passage, which is Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. If you go to verse 2, then you will see the some portion starting from Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. Then that means reference.
Okay,
And then
Doctor.
it is
Thank you.
followed by the subordination of something, and then it is followed by a position. Can you see that in Jessenius? Yeah, you can. So whenever you have the specific uh, reference of Genesis chapter 22, sometimes verse 1, sometimes verse 2, sometimes verse 3, and that's the part that you have to deal with. Romero, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then let's move on. So then Murauka, you don't need to do it. Go down to Walt O'Connell. We have many, but I just want you to deal with how many? One, two, three, four, five. And then the last one is the index. So you don't need to do it. So one, two, three, four, five. Only five. That start with Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. Romero, you can see that in your Bible Works 10 too, right? Without Aleph. But you do definitely have Genesis 22, verse 2. So that's the thing that I'm expecting you from you. I mean, I'm expecting from you, okay?
Excuse me.
Yes?
I saw some reference in the footnote, so should we include it in the syntactical analysis?
Okay, if you don't feel like this information for the footnote part doesn't really affect your translation, then you don't need to do it. Okay, that's a good question. Actually, sometimes the explanation has something to do with the footnote, which means that it's not a really direct explanation about the use of Hebrew grammar, but sometimes it is appearing as a footnote. Then you just try to understand, okay, that's a subordinary or complementary information. And if you think that's a really important and valid point in terms of your understanding of the passage, include it. But if you don't think it's really important, just you don't need to do that. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the question, Stephen. Uh, okay. I hope you understand it clearly. Let me go back to the slide again. Come on. You're tired. I can see that you look different today. I know that you guys are busy and couldn't sleep very well, especially Pierce. I have a pity on you. I hope you guys are getting better right now. Okay, just a stretch a little bit. Okay, take your time. Come on, it's okay. Stay with me. All right. Drink coffee. Uh, you know, one of the most important purposes of taking this Hebrews 3 is I I want to really help you to know what to do for further studies instead of providing you a lot of information. That's why I even it was to my surprise yesterday. Uh, Lawrence just shared that when he was taking Hebrew 3, he was not really dealing with these syntactical issues in a serious manner. That's why he couldn't really help you to understand the assignment. But if I have to choose one of the most important things that we are dealing with in Hebrew 3, that's a syntax. One more time, you need to understand how to utilize this wonderful tool. If you know how to do it, I'm sure that it will really bring a lot of contribution to your studies and to your preaching ministry. So it takes effort and time, but don't give up. Please do it. I'm also doing this study every day. Whenever I do my morning devotion, I just start with reading NIV version, and then I go for comparison study with YLT or KJV, and sometimes I could see some different interpretation. Then I begin to see the original language, and then if I have enough time, then I normally go deeper dealing with these syntactical books, and you could see a lot of information there. And the point that you will raise after studying by yourself will be even understood by other scholars. So if you do it, I'm sure people will really appreciate it, and you will be outstanding in a sense. Okay, so please take a positive attitude in learning this, and then more power to you. Okay, let's move on. Verse 2. Okay, this is the specific portion that I got from Jessenius. So imperfect with pronominal suffix. So this one is dealing with a specific part that has something to do with the use of pronominal suffix. Okay, as you can see the highlighted portion in yellow, you can see that this one is go, get, there, away, and Genesis 12:1, 22:2, they are used as a reference. So some of you still remember the difficulty of interpreting the part lek, leka, lek, leka. So you know that the lek means halak, then it's imperative, and leka literally means for you. So what does it mean? The literal translation is walk for you, walk for yourself. So now I can see that, okay, this one is about pronominal suffix. Then where can I see pronominal suffix? Here, ka. Am I right? Then, okay, deals with this leka. Then tell me more. Go to the part and read it. To introduce the dativus commodity, such a fancy words. This dativus commodity, in commodity. To be honest, I don't understand every single word, but it doesn't matter. Don't give up. Oh, don't say, what is this? I cannot do this. Don't say that. Don't give up. And then try to look at other parts that whatever you can understand is used especially in colloquial language and in later style in the form of a pronoun with lamet as an apparently pleonastic dativus atticus with many verbs, but they are not really important. The following part is important. In order to give emphasis to the significance of the occurrence. Okay, now, okay, something is going on. Okay, it gives an emphasis to the significance of the occurrence. In question for a particular subject, in this construction, the person of the pronoun must always agree with that of the verbal form. By far, the most frequent use of this lamet is with the pronoun of the second person after imperatives. There you go. I can understand something here. One more time. By far, the most frequent use of this lamet preposition is with the pronoun of the second person. So that's how we could come up with leka. But most importantly, after imperatives. So lek, leka. So what was your translation before? Look at this. Let's just start. Vayomer lakakna, and he said, so lakak, it's imperative, na, particle. So take, please take. What? Benica, your son, at what? Your yekik, yekik. Only, your only, that whom ahabta, you loved. Actually, this is important. Uh, this one is ahabta. So it's what is it? A fixed form. Then according to our understanding of a fixed form, should be a complete action. So okay, what does it mean? You loved him. It sounds like no more today. You loved him, then to sacrifice him. That's it? No, no. So this one also deals with another information about the use of perfect form. We were going to talk about it in terms of a syntax. But anyway, the one that you love, whom you love, and then Isaac. And here you go. Leka. God is commanding. Walk for yourself to the land of Moriah. So when God is commanding, it doesn't simply mean, hey, walk for yourself. And what do you need to do with leka? Going back to this, then it indicates what? An emphasis to the significance of the occurrence. So now then probably we don't need to put anything here in terms of translation, but it comes with the idea that, okay, it's not simply let. So there must be difference between the simple use of let and leka in terms of emphasis. Do you understand? So when it is together, used together with lamed preposition and the pronominal suffix, then it doesn't simply mean I for yourself. No, and you need to see the emphasis there. So exegetical significance, it emphasizes the level and significance of the test of Abraham in obeying God's command to go to the place God commanded him to be. All right. So can you see that this exegetical significance? All right. That is the reason why we need to study Hebrew language. In terms of syntax, okay, if you look at the modern translation, I don't think they put the emphasis there. But when you preach, you can visualize it. Okay, when God was commanding Abraham to go to the land of Moriah, it's just not like, hey, Abraham, go. Hey, Abraham, go. Okay? No, it's just kind of a with kind of idea that Abraham, go there. Probably he was just about to say the next part. Okay, go. You really go. Okay, with dignity and this nuance of importance. And, and here you go. It said, and sacrifice. What? Okay, so you can see that the level of his tone, the significance of his command is being increased there when he said, hey, go. It's not simply like, go there, Abraham, go, with the emphasis. Do you understand? Just feel free to what is that, share, especially those who finish your assignment and you could find something different or other insights or some addition. You are welcome. And then I rather encourage you to do it, because this is not simply about me giving you the lecture, but I'm expecting that you are becoming Hebrew scholar and contributing to this class. Okay, so don't be nervous and don't be shy if you want to share. What about the Japanese scholar, Tsukara? Could you see something here? Tsukara? Trying to figure out how to.
Yes. How to.
Okay, so anything that you want to share here?
I think. I think.
So what was your understanding
My
of
understanding
the specific part?
this one. My understanding for the lamed preposition and lek is like, this is very common expression or pointing in a direction of something, and it represents various relationship of an action or like condition regarding person or things.
That's kind of a general explanation of the use of lamet and together
Yeah.
with the pronoun and suffix. I think if you go to the top page of the specific portion, then I think you can get what Chikara just mentioned. It provides more general explanation about like lamet and the pronominal suffix. And then if you go down to the specific portion here to S and then number two, then
Yeah.
it gives you the specific explanation talking about this Genesis chapter 22, verse 2.
Mm.
Okay. And that's the part you have to um, really understand clearly. Okay, so thank you for drawing our attention to the general understanding of the use of Lamed preposition together with the pronoun and suffix. But this is what you really need to stick to. Okay,
Mm.
thank you, Chikara. Another thing. Okay, this is from Jesse News again, and then talking about opposition. Okay, opposition means when you what is it talk about someone and you may describe someone with some other words. So opposition typically means like Chun Kim, the father of four daughters, Korean. Those are other nouns, but they are in opposition, describing one person from a different angle, but the same. So it has something to do with the terminology of opposition. So then we need to look at it. So as I said, number one, I just wanted to give you kind of a general understanding first. It says opposition in the stricter sense is the collocation of two substantives in the same case in order to define more exactly. So trying to define one thing more exactly, more specifically using other words. The one by the other, and then as a rule, the former by the later. So if you see two words standing side by side, normally the rule is the first one is the most important word, and then it is modified by the letter. Okay, so we call it opposition. Then where can you see this opposition in verse 2? That is our question. And move on. When the nota accusative at, or a preposition precedes the first substantive, it may be repeated before the noun in opposition. If you look at these, Genesis 4:2 and these things, and you can see that. Okay. This usually occurs when the near definition precedes a proper name. As a rule, however, the repetition does not take place. Like in Deuteronomy 18:1, blah, blah. Okay, so what is the difference between them? Sometimes you need to see the specific reference you know, and understand the difference between these two groups. In fact, the first two groups are coming together with at, at. And then the other groups are coming without at. So it says, all right, uh, but what is most common? In terms of a rule, it is not really repeated by at, at. Instead, it simply, what is it, indicates two words without at, like the way we do in English, right? So, but in Hebrew, sometimes it comes with at. Where can you see it? From today's passage again. Look at this. And he said, take what? So it's your son. So your son is appearing, but another at is just following, right? So Banika and Yehidka, it's in opposition. It modifies the first one, and then there is another one. It's not really technically speaking opposition, Asher Ahabta, the one it's kind of a, what is it? For the explanation, the only one that whom you love. Okay, but it refers to things, three things here. Your son. Pay attention to the presence of it. Your son, your only, and then Isaac. See? So now the opposition is taking place by the presence of at, at. But in terms of rule, it's not really common to repeat at in opposition. Can you see that? Okay, that is the point. Then my question is, what is the exegetical point? Exegetical significance, that is my own interpretation. You may argue actually, and I encourage you to go against me. I want to see that the spirit of challenge in a person constructive way. But anyway, it says the preposition appears three times. The first one is used with your son and followed by only one and I saw. The former is specified by the latter. Moreover, as the general rule is not to repeat the preposition, it draws much more attention that the passage does not follow the rule. So the significance is what? It is used three times and it's not common. Then what will happen? It's not the rule. When you see something that is not really following the rule, then you can see, well, what is this? And then I need to say that great attention is to be given to the specific part. So you can see the concept of kind of emphasis there. That is my understanding too. So why? Because it's not common, and then three times even. Okay, so the Bible is quite interesting, to see how this man is described. Okay, it doesn't simply say. He said, God is saying, "Hey, Abraham, take your son." Okay, when he said, "Take your son," it sounds quite literal. Okay, that's okay. But he said, "Your only son." Probably when he heard your only son, then he said, "Okay, yeah, he's my only son." All right. And then he's going like, "The one that you love." All right. It's getting near. What is it? The specified, narrower. And finally, there is a really big blue. What is it? Isaac. It's not Ismail. Isaac. There was no excuse at all. Can I take Ismail? Okay. No, your son. Okay, whose son, Lord? The one, only one. Eh? It's not clear. The one you love. I love Ismail too, you know? And he goes like, no, Isaac. I think it's very simple narrative. And I think you can even deal with a lot, right? Looking at this specific explanation, sometimes God is commanding you to do, but His commandment sounds not really specific sometimes, and you just feel, okay, I'm feeling like God wants me to do, especially when it comes to the issue of sacrifice, and you feel like, oh, God wants me to give up something that you don't know, but in deep side your heart, you know what it is, and you are quite hesitant. Is it really true, Lord? And we're asking, we're doubting. Is it? Oh no, probably it's not your voice, but my voice. It's not really what you meant. And God gave you another sign. Hey, this one. And you were like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? How many times? Four times here. It's very, very short passage, but very deep. And they go deeper, deeper, deeper. And then finally, Isaac. He just hit the point. this is the what is it approach that you need to build up. Okay, when you just read it, the English version, of course you can see the step. I mean, the this kind of aspect there. But when you understand that, okay, this is not really common. That at at at. Okay, then what is the significance? It's not following the rule, and it's intentionally highlighted and emphasized. Okay. All right. I hope some of you will be able to preach this passage maybe 2 weeks from now in your church. Okay. And if your church members will be blessed and bring me a piece of um, small token, whatever.
I'll put you in
Just kidding.
the reference notes.
Yeah, of course you have to. All right. Let me move on. Where are you? Yeah, here. So then let's move on to another point. Okay, another book, Waltz and O'Connor, deals with verse 2, and it's entitled Pronoun, Noun, Oppositional Phrases. Now, opposition, I think we are just done with the opposition. So this is another book. So you can see some overlap between Walt O'Connor and Jesse News. But it's quite interesting to see the little difference between these two textbooks. Okay, and let's look at it. Chompy, would you read, please?
Pronouns, nouns, appositional phrases. A pronoun may be followed by a noun in a position. In the case of an independent subject pronoun after a finite verb, it is usually to speak of an emphatic rather than appositional use in one. The emphatic subject pronoun has its own following apposition, as increasing specificity, balanced narrative delay.
Okay, so probably if you did your assignment, probably you found Walt O'Connor much easier to understand. It's been more modern, and then the format is quite clean. So to me, Walt O'Connor is much easier to understand. Look at this, and then this is number one actually. In fact, this explanation is not directly related to this pronoun, noun, or positional phrase. Because in word O'Connor, it simply use this hem, pate, pemi, teme, har, to me. Okay, so hem means they, them, and then this one means magician, Mitzrayim is Egyptian. So Egyptian magician. But why do we have Ham there? Then the significance of this use of pronoun and noun. So where can you see pronoun, noun? Here, as an example, pronoun is Ham and noun is the following words. So when you say pronoun and noun, then the typical use is emphatic. It is usually to speak of an empathic rather than oppositional. So now, what do we mean by oppositional? Oppositional is not really empathic, but modifying and specifying, one person. But when you have noun and pronoun combination, that's a bit more empathic. So this Exodus 7 and 11 is about empathic use. And then Walt O'Connor says, look at Genesis chapter 22 in comparison, where you can see the concept of opposition, which was just dealt with by us previously. Okay, because it's noun, noun, noun. Do you remember? Okay, so in that case, it is opposition. But at the end, consider the fact that at the usage of the three times of usage of at is quite unusual. It means a lot too. But in terms of a general grammatical aspect, it's just opposition. So Genesis chapter 22 was used to be compared with the case of an emphatic use of pronoun noun as an emphatic use. But Genesis chapter 22 verse 2 indicates the normal uses of noun noun in opposition. Okay, this is what I'm expecting from your assignment. Do you understand? Okay, so you may find that this explanation indirect, and if you think this is not really important, then perhaps you can just, you don't need to do it. Okay, but you need to explain at least. Okay, I understand this. Let's move on. Okay, Albert, can you read?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Infinitive, infinite nouns are not as a rule marked in Hebrew, but on occasion specific indefinite may be in with har,
Akat. Akat.
Akat one. As an adjective with a singular noun, it has the force of a certain. As a
All right.
noun,
So hold on a second. When you have akat, then it probably means a or one, but it also has the nuance of a certain. Okay. All right. That's the thing that you can see. Move on.
as a noun in construct with a plural noun, it has the force of one of,
All
comma,
right. One
a.
of. So where can you see? We are focusing on the use of akat, and then it is attached to a plural, as it is said. As a noun in construct with a plural noun, it has the force of one of. So when you have a cat in construct form with plural, then you can interpret it as one of the Harim mountains. One of the mountains. You know, when I was reading this passage again, actually, I was not really aware of this before, and then I didn't pay attention to this. What is your understanding when you read this passage? It said, Lord is commanding Abraham, hey, take your son, only one that you love, Isaac. And what is it? Leka, go, that go to the land of Moriah. So we tend to think that the place, the mountain, is really well known as Mount Moriah. Am I right? So we think this is Mount Moriah. That's quite clear. But if you pay attention to the literal translation, it specified that it is the land of Moriah. And then there must be a lot of mountains or several mountains there. So God is commanding him to go to one of the mountains that are in the land of Moriah. So what can you see here? Actually, Abraham was commanded to go to the direction, but he was not given yet the specific destination. I one of the mountains that I speak to you. This is not. This is I will speak to you. This is not a fixed form, but prefix form. I will speak to you. Okay. So now I said it. Okay, just to go to Moriah, the area, but go to one of the mountains that I will tell you. So now until verse 2, you can see that it's not really specific. The specific location of the mountain. Can you see that? So that is my understanding here. So when Abraham was commanded to go to the region, it was kind of okay, go to Manila. Okay, there are a lot of hotels, but you will go to one of the hotels that I will tell you. Something like this. Okay. So I don't know. Probably it's too much, but I could relate myself to Abraham. It was not really a happy journey, and you have to obey anyway. Looking back at my missionary night in the Philippines, I was always like, God wanted me to be here. Okay, June, go. And you know what he wants you to do in terms of the general commandment, but you don't know the specific destination yet. And you know that this is not an unpleasant journey at all, but you have to go and the direction. But I was feeling like, Lord, you want me to stay here as a missionary, but what am I going to do? He was always, quiet. He was always quiet. And then I asked, Lord, I was also doing the ministry, but my prayer was like, I'm suffering here in terms of money, you know, and then studies. A lot of things were really, uncertain. But I always ask, how far, where, and what? And he was quiet and told me, just be there. Go. I will let you know. I will let you know. Somebody say amen. I probably
Amen.
you are there, and feeling like where, what? Lord, I'm not really enjoying this. Can you tell me clearly? You know, but what are we going to do? Just obey, follow, and He will let you know. And God's provision is there. I think this is very simple realization, isn't it? I didn't really pay attention to this before. And also, I need to admit that it could be very spiritualized understanding or interpretation too. There is always danger. We are all human beings. But what I'm trying to say is, this is simple and tiny information in terms of Hebrew can bring a big change in terms of your interpretation and go deeper, right? And I think this is what I really want to see from you. See the way I'm dealing with, and you can just interact. Okay, so this is my prayer. You may be feeling like in Hebrew, Johnny, Lord, I know you want me to finish this Hebrew 1 to 4. You ask God how. Okay, and look at me. I don't have Bible works. I'm not really good at using Bible. What is Bible works? I'm not really good at English. Struggles, and it's not pleasant at all. But God will tell you the specific thing soon. Okay, and you realize this place will be called Jehovah Jireh. God provides. Amen. And I'm feeling like I'm preaching today. I better stop. We can do it. The conclusion, we can do it. Come on, okay? It's not happy, but when we obey God, that's what matters. At the end, God will say, my faithful servant, you did well. So I admire Romero wearing the uniform there. I know that you are living busy life, but God is pleased with you and your journey. Don't give up.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's move on. Let me deal with. So Exegetical significance, there are more than one mountain in the area of Moriah. It is not a definite place yet. Abraham was not informed specifically about that certain location yet. Okay. So another one, regarding the uses of numerals. So Walt O'Connell provides information like the substantive use of DXA, TXA chiefly involve construct phrases. The number word may precede a plural noun. So translation is one of the mountains. So it's a repetition of Jessenius' explanation. So the translation is one of the mountains. Okay, right. Introduction to the conjugations. I think this is also what I got from Walt O'Connell under K. It says, finally, in our appraisal of Ewald, we take note of Peter Kustar's allegations that, pay attention to this, QTL, this is katal. It's another form of prefix name. Okay, if you see WQTL, then that's a prefix form. Okay, then QTL refers to a fixed form. Okay, that affix can designate action which is not completed. Okay, this is quite interesting form. Look at this, Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. You see a katal, which is a fixed form, and complete action. Am I right? Because ahab is coming together with a fixed form ta. So we normally translate a fixed form as a complete action in the past tense, right? This is what I was talking about. So whom ahabta. So your son, your only son, asher ahabta, you loved. So then do we apply the idea of complete action? So now it says, if you have this kata, which is a fixed form, it can designate action which is not completed. Being a complete action, it can refer to incomplete action. That's the point. Do you understand? So that's why we need to study this syntax here. So ahabta is supposed to be referring to a complete action, and yet Walt O'Connor is trying to say that it's not complete action. In what sense? Where are you? And then also, let's look at this. Why katal means prefix form? The prefix form is meant to be what is a future tense in complete action, but also it can designate complete action. So do not say that prefix should be always future tense, or fixed form should be always past tense. But there must be another reason why we need to put it. So when this aha buta is used there, then actually the word is used in a sense that it's not completed action, but what is it could be even past present. You have loved him, okay, or the simple fact that he still loves. So this one is doesn't really apply that Abraham used to love him and no more. Okay? Or that action of love is complete. No, it's still going on. So that's the idea. Okay? So I need to stop because we are going to start our lectureship at 11 o'clock. So you're welcome to join. After the main lecture, we are going to spend about 30 minutes for question and no, not question, is a group discussion. So that's going to be really interesting. As you know that Dr. Robert Banks plans to deal with the life and ministry of Paul in terms of teaching, pastoring, and helping the community as community developers. So today's lecture is about teaching. So if you are interested about knowing how Paul was engaged with his uh, teaching ministry in terms of methodology, then that is for you today. Okay. So if you couldn't finish your assignment today, please do it and then submit it to me by this Thursday. Okay. Until verse 19. Okay. 1 to 19. If you are done, praise the Lord. It's okay. But if you want to arrange it or revise it, modify it, please do so. Okay. You're welcome to do that. So may God bless you with our journey of Jehovah Zaira. Okay. So enjoy your life and see you on Thursday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Dr. Chung Kim,
Yeah.
is the PowerPoint that you're sharing today available on Moodle?
I will share. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.